Welcome back, everyone, to this Week 10 edition of Bruce Monnin's Computer Points Podcast. I'm Bruce Monnin, your host, recording from our studio in Minster, Ohio. Also checking in today from Wapakoneta, Ohio, home of the 10-0 Wapakoneta Redskins. We have a substitute co-host for Rebecca, Mr. Van Wright.
You know, Bruce, there's no substituting for the best. Rebecca Monnin, there's no one who can fill her shoes. We're not going to kid about that here on this podcast with our thousands of followers and listeners. But I do note that I'm coming off a big win, Bowling Green, my alma mater over Toledo, 41-26. I know there's a lot of Rocket fans out there, many, many more Falcon fans. So a lot more people happy this week.
Yes, indeed. Saw a few of the highlights, mostly the post-game highlights, actually. Looked like a good time there for the Bowling Green fans.
Yeah, the post-game was the highlight. We had our band, we had our players, partied right into the night, Bruce. It reminded me of Oktoberfest in Minster. So it was quite a win, but we're not here to talk about Bowling Green's domination of Toledo. We're here to talk about high school football.
Yes, and if any of you are worried, no, Rebecca is just fine. She is currently busy persuading people in the Middle East and Asia and Europe about the joys of GE aircraft engines. So she should return next week. No problem. Now, looking back, we actually did fairly well on last week's podcast. I don't think a single one of our teams finished more than one position away from where we predicted they would, assuming whether they won or lost. Not predicting whether they would win or not, just where they would end up after their result occurred. Where we did miss out was in picking the number 16th seed in Region 28 to be Marion Local's opponent.
I'll tell you, Bruce, that was quite a story there. I know that you're going to cover it closely. It's shocking to me that an opponent wouldn't want to play in the playoffs. I do understand it, but that was a shocking move. But I do want to say, before you get going on your analysis, that there is no one in the state of Ohio. There is no podcast. There is no prognosticator. There is no program more accurate than Bruce Monnin and Rebecca Monnin on the information and data you get. So I know you're saying you did pretty well. You know you were going to do well because there is no one better. So please continue on Marion Local.
Well, thank you, Van. Back to Marion Local. As we said, that was through no fault of our own, but there was a sequence of events where the 16 seed Lockland, the 17 seed Cedarville, and the 18 seed Hamilton, New Miami all turned down the opportunity to participate in the postseason. Thus, our very own 19th seeded Fort Recovery Indians have been promoted into the playoffs to take on Marion Local this Friday night.
I love the purple and white. I salute them. No one loves Fort Recovery more than me. I'm a big fan of that school, the entire administration. I wish them all the best in this game, and thank you for stepping up and carrying the Midwest Athletic Conference banner.
I actually felt a little bad last Friday night after the game. I was hoping to interview their coach to talk about they have something of a smallish roster there by their standards and how much work all the players who did go out for football must have put in for this season through the scout team, the playing both ways, all that sort of thing. But by the time I was able to get over to them, the bus was loaded up and they were heading out already. So now maybe it's better I didn't. They have another week to play. So it would have been a little premature, I guess, huh?
Absolutely.
By the way, I actually did receive a fan question on this topic already. Always nice to hear. This fan wanted to know, is it only the number 16 seeds that can opt out of the playoffs? Or is it just that 16 seeds are most likely to? And no, it is anyone is allowed to opt out of the playoffs right now. I thought it used to be that you had to say so a week ahead of time, but I actually looked up the football tournament regulations in Section 7. It says if a school chooses not to participate in the regional tournament, the school with the next highest per game average in computer points will become a qualifier. It does not say when the school has to choose. So I guess that could still happen. I hope there's a deadline. You would hope they couldn't quit on Thursday. I have a couple other questions on the topic. I emailed Bo Rugg at the Ohio High School Athletic Association. I am still waiting for some answers yet. He has not got back to me. I imagine he's received a few emails on this topic this week, so maybe I'll have something next week. I did look back just, what was this, last year in Region 15, 5-5 Columbus Eastmore Academy opted out of the playoffs. They would have finished 14th in the standings, so they got out as a 14. And since they did so ahead of time, what happened was the number 15 team moved up and the number 16 team moved up and the number 17 team went into the 16 spot. It's a little iffier if a team would opt out, say, Tuesday or Wednesday of this week.
Yep.
Say a 13 seed opted out. Would they move everyone up a spot and mess up everyone's preparation so far? Or would they promote someone all the way into the 13 spot? Those are questions I do not yet have answers to, but I'm kind of curious about.
Yeah, those are big questions. I would think someone that would make that move late, I don't think you could allow that, Bruce. I think you'd have to, once preparations begin, once these coaching staffs move into their preparatory work, you can't get 2 or 3 or 4 days into the week, say, hey, you know what? I hope Bo Rugg tells you, no, there's a time limit for that.
Yep, and if they don't have one, maybe now they will get one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do remember a few years ago, and I forget where, I just read about it recently. There was a playoff game where a team showed up. The higher seeded team scored on their first 2 possessions, and one of the players on the underdog was injured, and they just said, that's good enough.
Wow.
At the end of and said, we're out of here. You win. And that was the end of the game.
Ooh. Hmm.
It kind of makes you wonder. A few years ago, the Coaches Association, they proposed that there be 12 teams per region in the playoffs instead of 16. So that the top 4 teams will get a first round bye, and then you wouldn't have a 1 versus 16 game anywhere. You'd get rid of all the potential blowouts. And that's starting to look maybe like a little healthier way to do things.
I would absolutely agree with that. I think in this region setup, 12 teams would be the right number and get out of some of this 1 and 16 matchups. I think there's several on this list. They're going to be tough.
Yes, there are. There is one where I expect the 15 seed to win, but it is something of an anomaly. The rest of them, it doesn't look good. Those 116s, 215s, they look like a lot of running clock games to me.
Yes.
So, well, we shall look at the playoff matchups for our teams here in West Central Ohio and give a brief overview of what Drew Pasteur's fantastic 50 computer says that the outcomes of these games may be. I'm also going to give what the computer says is the chance each team will have to win. Although, to be honest, I think that computer tends to underestimate the chances of underdogs winning some of these games. Some of these where they say that the team only has a 1% chance to win or a 3%. I find that to be well overstating how stacked the odds are against them. But we'll give it anyway. It's what the computer says. You make your own choice.
Let's go.
And speaking of which, we'll start in Division 1, Region 1. We have 8-2 Findlay as the 10 seed traveling to play the 7 seed 5-5 Lakewood St. Edward.
Bruce, I mean, this game, and you've summarized things so well all year. This game is a very, very difficult matchup for Findlay. It's just a difficult matchup. This is not a normal 5-5 team in Lakewood St. Edward. These guys can play, and they played a tough schedule. I'm concerned with my Trojans in this ballgame.
I agree. The computer says Findlay is a 37-point underdog with only a 1% chance to win. And the reason it does is, as we said, this 5-5 Lakewood St. Edward team, their losses include Massillon, Cleveland Glenville, Cincinnati Moeller, and Akron Archbishop Hoban. That might be 4 of the best teams in the entire state of Ohio.
Correct.
St. Edward's opponents have a combined record of 64-29 this season.
Wow.
They played a tough schedule. And historically, they are always one of the top teams in Ohio.
Yes.
So a tough draw for Findlay in this. Moving down to Division 2, Region 8, we'll start with Lima Senior As we feared, Lima Senior suffers their first and only loss of the season, and it drops them all the way to number 9 in the standings, where they have to go on the road to start the playoffs. They will be
Yeah,
traveling to 8-2 Vandalia Butler.
yeah, this is a bad scenario too for Lima Senior. I know a lot of these coaches and players. Their quarterback is such a playmaker, Bruce. I mean, he is an absolute difference maker. I only hope they can bounce back from that loss to start. They got to take that bus down to Vandalia. I know they're big underdogs. You show them as 11-point underdogs, or the computer shows them as 11-point underdog, 23% chance of winning. That may be fairly accurate. They may have a 1 in 4 chance in winning, but I'm going to ride with my Spartans, my skill guys, to spring something here.
I believe I've actually seen a little bit of talk about that quarterback at Lima Senior for Mr. Football in Ohio. I doubt it happens, but I've heard a little talk.
Yeah, he's an exceptional athlete. Again, they played some down competition. That's why they dropped to 9 after that one loss. But he is highly skilled, and I hope for the city of Lima and Lima Senior, and he can really show out in this game. It's going to take a lot because Vandalia Butlers is a very good program.
And we'll note that both of these teams played Piqua this season. Vandalia Butler won 17-7 back in week 2. Lima Senior won 35-20 in week 1. Fairly similar results, but both a long, long time ago.
Yep.
So this feels to me like it says an 11-point game. Feels to me like it may be a little tighter than that.
I agree.
Our next game, we have the 11 seed, 6-4 Troy, is traveling to Harrison, Ohio to face the 6 seed, 8-2 Harrison. Computer has the Trojans as a 22-point underdog in this game. That's only a 7% chance for winning. I did some look at, I see nothing that tells me anything to compare these two teams. I just don't see anything.
It's hard to compare them, Bruce, but I'll tell you one thing. I don't think Troy's going to get on buses, go down to the river, go down to Harrison, and win this. I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't think it's going to happen. I love the Trojans, but I don't think they're going to do it. It's a big task to win on the river.
In my opinion, this is another tough draw. Harrison, all year long, the projections kept showing them being about a number 3 seed. And then somehow there was a couple of upsets and they dropped to number 6 in the last week. So this is probably a better team than your normal number 3 seed. So unfortunate break there for Troy. On the other hand, I've been around Troy enough to know that if they bother to put on the uniforms and get on the bus, they're not going to lose. They're going with every intention of winning this game.
Yes, correct.
And finally, in this region, we have Sydney work their way into the playoffs with the 14 seed. So they face the 3 seed, 9-1 Xenia. The computer says Sydney's a 25-point underdog with a 5% chance to win. They actually played this game in week 3 of the season. Xenia won 48-7.
Yeah, Xenia lost to Tip last week. They're going to have bad intentions in this game. They are going to come out. It's going to be tough. I mean, Xenia's coming out with an attitude. That's what they do down there. That's what they do down there. So I love Sydney. It's my town. Devin Taborn, as you know, inside linebacker, back up at Bowling Green, played there 2 years ago. Great player, the Taborn brothers. I don't know if my Jackets can do it.
By the way, just a quick note here. Back in our preseason episode, Van, you mentioned you thought the winner of the Sydney game would make the playoffs and the loser would miss out. So if any of you watch the Manning cast on Monday Night Football, I think we need to put a big fat head of Van up on Eli Manning's perfect prediction board. He got it right there.
Perfect prediction. Well, Bruce, I'm paid to make those calls. That's what you told me preseason. If you come on the radio, come on the podcast, do something positive. Don't sit and leave things to the side, make a statement. And my statement was pick with Sydney, the winners in the playoffs. And it's simple as this, I was right.
We're right. And on that note, we move on to Division 3. We have one team alive in Region 10. That is 6-4 Defiance took the 6th seed. And they will be playing number 11 Bowling Green, who is also 6-4. The computer says Defiance, a 23-point favorite with a 93% chance to win. Both teams played Napoleon this year. Defiance lost the River Rock rivalry 35-34 in week 1. Bowling Green beat Napoleon 24-14 in week 9. Van, I don't know if anyone that knows more about Bowling Green State University than you do. What do you know about Bowling Green High School?
In 1973, Bruce, Bowling Green High School played in the state Final Four. They went up against Warren Harding, the Browner brothers, Joey and Ross. That was a tough one. That's when 4 teams in each division made the entire playoffs. So they lost that game at the Akron Rubber Bowl, as you remember. Now Bowling Green's back a little bit, but after you called me and said, Van, I need you on this broadcast, obviously I went to the game last week to watch Bowling Green and Fremont Ross, because you said, do some research. Don't just sit around on the podcast and act like you're just talking. So I went and watched the Bowling Green Fremont Ross game. And I'll be honest with you, and I love Bowling Green, everything about it. They did not play well. This Bowling Green team has been up and down all year. The week before, you said they beat Napoleon. Last week, they were blitzed by Fremont Ross. I mean, on their home field, blitzed. This game is very, very hard to call, but I'm going to go WBL here. I'm going to go Defiance in a tight one.
Yeah, the problem with this game is you can say similar things about Defiance. You never know which Defiance team is going to show up every week.
Right.
So I guess that makes this one a fun one. If you live up north, maybe that's where you want to attend Friday night.
Yep.
Moving over to Region 12, we have several teams we follow here. We've mentioned the top seed, 10-0 Tip City Tippecanoe, took out undefeated Xenia last week. They are playing the 16 team, 3-7 Oxford Talawanda. The computer says 36-point win for Tip City and a 99% chance to win. I have no other comparison of these two teams, and I don't think I really need one, Van.
It's a running clock game. This is Talawanda isn't great. Tip City Tippecanoe, number 1 in the back end, as you know, Luca Adkins, difference maker in the back end there. His daddy used to work for me here in Wapakoneta. So Luca Adkins, number 1, difference maker on the back end for him. This is running clock in the second half.
I tend to agree with you there, Van. Our next game, the 2 seed, 10-0 Wapakoneta, facing the 15 seed, 4-6 Franklin. The computer feels similarly about this one. Says Wapakoneta is a 35-point favorite with a 99% chance to win. I found no way to compare these two teams either, although I did find one interesting note. Back in week 2, Franklin lost to Marion Local 49-0. This one could be similar.
Again, I like Franklin. I love that town down there south of Dayton. They're coming up in their buses. They're going to have not much fan support. Walpock will be there. Caleb Moyer, Caden Page, Grant Hauser. I could go through 6 or 8 other guys that are all Western Buckeye League players. Wapakoneta is loaded, but I'll tell you what Wapakoneta has, Bruce, coaching. Now, most of these top seeds, top teams have that. Wapakoneta is incredibly well coached by Travis Moyer and his staff. Absolutely one of the best coaches in the state. Not in the league, in the state.
I actually noticed I was driving. Let me clarify that. I was being driven up and down I-75 on Sunday. For those of you that know about my vision, you'll be happy to know I was not driving. That would not be a good thing.
No.
Went by the exit for Franklin, and I commented to my wife. I said, all these years I've gone down this stretch of the road hundreds of times. I don't think I've ever been in Franklin. So I imagine you get everywhere, Van, if you stopped in there at any time.
Yeah. I've been to Franklin High School in greatest respect. I mean, nice community. I think you can work in either Cincinnati or Dayton there. It's, it's a kind of a bedroom community for both directions too. And yeah, it's a great area. This team, they're running into a buzzsaw. I mean, Wapakoneta is on a mission now, especially after last week, Bruce, because you saw what happened when you drop just a little bit of your focus against a good football team. Now, they won the game. We're going to get to that team here in a minute.
It was a lot closer than many people expected. I know I was surprised watching the updates come in. So that's about what I thought, too. Walpart maybe not a whole lot to play for in that game other than WBL glory there, huh?
Correct.
All right. Our next team in this region, the fifth seed, 8-2 Bell Fountain, is up against number 12, 5-5 Chaminade Julienne. There's another team that historically has been a football powerhouse, not as much in recent years. The computer says Bellefontaine is an 18-point favorite with an 88% chance to win. I've seen a few people on the internet saying there's no way Bellefontaine can handle that tough Chaminade Julienne run game. I guess we'll see. We'll see if they can handle that passing game Bellefontaine does, huh?
That's correct. It's the tale of two types of offense there. But I'm going to put my chieftains, who I dearly love, the great Jason Brown, the principal over there, is a good friend of mine. I'm putting my Bellefontaine chieftains on upset alert right here. I'm putting them on official upset alert at home.
All right. Said I don't see any way to really compare the two by common opponents at all, but we shall see. We have two more WBL teams in this region yet. We'll start with the 8th seed. 8-2 St. Mary's is hosting the 9 seed, 7-3 Washington Courthouse Miami Trace. And if you were listening last week, Rebecca filled us in on how the town of Washington Courthouse got its name. The computer says, even though this is an 8-9 game, and you will notice as we go through this, there are a lot of 9 seeds favored to beat 8 seeds. But in this case, St. Mary's is a 33-point favorite.
Yeah.
And just taking a look, I see a huge strength of schedule advantage for St. Mary's. They are really better prepared for the playoffs, in my opinion, than Miami Trace will be.
I couldn't agree with you more, Bruce. This is the playoff-ready team. And again, great respect to Miami Trace down there, but they're not playing this kind of football down there on their schedule. St. Mary's has 3 guys that can carry the mail. These guys are ground and pound. Yeah, they'll throw the ball occasionally, but these 3 guys, they got one dude who's a horse. This guy's a horse. This guy's a big man. I'm projecting St. Mary's easily in this game.
Just a side note here, I always thought of St. Mary's as the ultimate running game team in the area. Then I discovered Ansonia, and St. Mary's is now number 2 on my list. Van agrees.
Number two.
Our final game here, number 11, Salina, 6-4, on the road to face the 6th seed, 8-2 Archbishop McNicholas. And the computer says Salina is about a 2-touchdown underdog. They have some work to do in this game. Only an 18% chance to win. Yeah. Now, I just want to give a quick little history lesson, though. Last year, Salina beat the number 1 seed in the playoffs, the number 2 seed, and the number 3 seed. So they have some experience at knowing how to beat the big dogs in the playoffs.
Bruce, your research and your knowledge of this game is no one can top it without question. But as you know, I go behind the scenes to try to contribute something. Talking to offensive coordinator Jack Hemmelgarn, Salina's OC, he has been wheeling and dealing all year. They have been holding a few things. You saw some stuff last week against Wapakoneta. No one gave Salina a chance in that game. And to be quite blunt, they probably should have won the game. Now, you can say they had more to play for. You can say that. But if you watch the game, they really, really played well against a great Wapak team. So I'm going to go out on the limb right now and say Hemmelgarn, the former Coldwater quarterback, as you know, Bowling Green grad, as you know, will have some stuff he's going to pull out. Things are going to happen in this game. I'm going to say right now, you can record this, I am picking Salina over a very good McNick team today. I'm picking Salina.
And just to drive home your second point there, this McNicholas team, 2 losses on the year. They lost to 9-0 Steubenville, 18-16 in week 1.
Yep. And
last week they lost to 8-2 Hamilton Baden, 10-6. So they have 8 wins and 2 very tight losses. This is
very good team.
This is a very good 6 seed. Yes, it is. And now that we've been talking about WBL teams, I'm going to announce this week's Team of the Week.
Team of the Week.
And our Team of the Week this episode is Elida, who defeated Van Wert 49-34. Now, we mentioned last week the winner of that game got into the playoffs. The loser stayed home. Great effort by a 2-7 Elida team to defeat an opponent who was very motivated, a 4-5 Van Wert team. not like they just had to win. They had to beat someone whose season was on the line, and they did it in upset fashion. So congratulations to Elida. An impressive win to get into the playoffs.
Really proud of Elida. The Bulldogs could have easily stopped, but didn't. A lot of credit to that coaching staff and the senior leadership on that team.
And we move down into Elida's region, Division 4, Region 14. We will start, however, with the 10 seed, 5-5 Ottawa Glandorf. They go on the road to play the 7 seed, 7-3 Galleon. Now, the computer actually says Ottawa Glandorf is a 6-point favorite with a 65% chance to win. For some reason, the computer has loved Ottawa Glandorf all year, but not sure why. Looking up Galleon, they had a 3-game losing streak, including a loss to 3-7 Marengo Highland. Then they came back to win their final 3 games. I thought Ottawa Glandorf kind of underperformed a little bit in their last 2 games of the season against Lima Shawnee and Defiance. But they get in at 5-5, and computer says they are favored to win this one.
I think this will be a close game, Bruce. That loss by Galleon to Marengo Highland is understandable, given that no one knows where Marengo Highland is. So I understand the GPS. They struggle with that. The bus drivers were a little late to that one, and that can impact the team when you get lost on the way to the opponent. So they have that. OG with Coach Schreiner. I was at OG last week, as you know, again, doing some research there. Old school. And I'm going to give a little bit of an edge to OG, but boy, I think this game's going to be really, really close.
Our next game, the 13 seed, 5-5 Napoleon, travels to face the 4 seed, 8-2 Lorraine Clearview. Once again, the computer has the lower seed, Napoleon, as a 5-point favorite with a 63% chance to win this game. I'd say Napoleon had a much tougher strength of schedule. And don't forget, Lorraine Clearview, we mentioned last week, They just played that extra game in the middle of the week on Tuesday. They've played 3 games in 8 days. We'll see how they recover from that. Now, their last game this Friday was not a particularly difficult opponent, so they probably rested a lot of their starters.
Yeah, Napoleon plays a lot tougher schedule than Clearview, and Clearview's, I'll be honest, is kind of more of a basketball school historically. This game's going to be tough to call. I mean, I don't know. I can't get a good feel for that one, Bruce.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm leaning Napoleon, but yeah, tough to pick.
Yep.
This brings us to our team of the week, Elida. They are the 15 seed. They have a 3-7 record. Their reward for making it into the playoffs, as often is the case, is they face the 2 seed undefeated 10-0 Shelby. The computer says Elida is a 33-point underdog in this game, so a much more difficult task than they had last week against Van Wert.
Yeah, I'm glad Elida fought their way into it, but boy, I think Shelby that's a very, very good team. You know, the Whippets, another school that's good across the board in sports. I mean, it's a strong athletics program. So I got to go Whippets all the way here.
Just another note here, not that it matters that much, but we were just talking about Galleon a couple of games ago. Shelby beat Galleon 35-7 in week 5. So that might be good news for Ottawa Glandorf, bad news for Elida.
Right.
Okay, moving over to Region 16 of Division 4. We have Urbana. They are the 11 seed. They get on their buses. They go to the 6 seed, 8-2 Cleves Taylor. If you don't know where Cleves is, this school used to be known as North Bend Taylor. That is one of the many suburbs, I will say, of Cincinnati.
Yep.
It's a long trip for Urbana. The computer has Urbana as only a 4-point underdog with a 40% chance to win this game. So I think this is about as good of a matchup for Urbana as an 11 seed as they were going to get. There's really no overlap much between schools such as Urbana and Cleves Taylor, of course. Every computer I can find seems to like Taylor a little better, but it's not by a whole lot. Way back in our preview shows, Rebecca's notes tell me that Van predicted Urbana was likely to win a playoff game this year.
You know, Rebecca recorded all that. She's taken copious notes, and I did predict Urbana would be in the playoffs and win. And I am going right here on this list of games, and there's a lot of games here. This is my stone cold lock of the week. The Hill Climbers will go to Cleves Taylor, and they will win. Simple as that. They will get in the bus, win the game, and get back. W for the Hill Climbers.
Yeah, the Taylor team, this is a little I have a rule of thumb for Cincinnati area teams. If they're divisions 1 and 2, you pick them to win. If they're division 6 and 7, you pick them to lose. Division 4 is somewhere in the middle. I'm not so sure. The lower division teams seem to lose a lot of their players to the private schools of the Cincinnati area. Have no idea what happens around the North Bend Cleves area. That's a little bit over to the west side of town, farther away from those private schools.
Correct.
And trust me, west side Cincinnatians don't really like going anywhere other than the west side of Cincinnati, even if it's just going out to eat.
Yeah, go in the grocery store. Yeah, we're local.
Yes.
West side local, baby. West side, best side is what they say over there. West side,
yes,
best
they
side.
do. I remember a few years ago, I was listening to the Cincinnati basketball coaches show. The coach at the time, he's at UCLA now, was a Cincinnati native from the west side. They were having the show at the Montgomery Inn. And his brother and his dad came over to the game or to the radio show, and they commented to him, "Man, this place is really great." You know, and he had to tell him, "Well, you have to leave the west side once in a while to find these places."
That's right. Oh my.
Okay, moving on to Division 5, Region 18. This is our Liberty Center region. They are undefeated, 10-0, the 2 seed. They will be playing the 15 seed 4 and 6 Utica. I don't know how they pronounce that.
Utica.
Utica would have been my guess. Yep.
Utica. Yep.
Computer says Liberty Center is a 42-point favorite in this game. That's a heavy running clock. All else I have to say about this is I think Liberty Center's playoffs begin next week.
Running clock game right there. Period. Running clock.
And I think Liberty Center's opponent next week will be number 7, 9-1 Liberty Benton, who will be hosting the 10 seed, 7-3 Fairview Park Fairview. Computer likes Liberty Benton by 34 points in this game, and I don't disagree one bit. So I see that you mentioned in our preview show, Van, that Liberty Benton would be highly motivated to win their opening playoff game this year.
Earlier this morning, I spoke with Lauren Gherkin, as you know, an all-state player at Liberty Benton last year, now playing for Bowling Green's women's basketball team. And Lauren Gherkin says the football team is rolling; they will win. Then I spoke to her father. Now, her father is the principal who actually knows what's going on. Ben Gherkin, great principal at Liberty Benton, and he says this: the fellows will be ready. That was his statement. Liberty Benton winning over Fairview. That's my prediction.
Yep. I imagine the big game will be next week. We'll be talking about Liberty Benton traveling to Liberty Center next week.
Big game.
Down in Region 20 of Division 5, we're going to start with West Liberty Salem. They ended up as the 2 seed with their 9-1 record. They will face the 15 seed 6-4 Arcanum. The computers like West Liberty Salem to win this by 34 points. And to be honest, this looks like your typical number 2 versus number 15 game. We said way back in the preseason show, Arcanum might struggle come playoff time with moving up from Division 6 to Division 5. And this game might well be an example of that.
Bruce, have you ever been to the shoe store in West Liberty? Have you been to the Boss shoe store, the big orange shoe store, BOSS? Have you been there?
I have not.
Okay, well, next time you're in West Liberty, I want you to go to the Boss shoe store, BOSS, big orange shoe store. Great place. Of course, the Piat castles and everything else around there. It's a great town, beautiful community. But the Tigers are gonna whip Arcanum. I love Arcanum too, over on the plains of Dark County and Miami County on the border there. But I got West Liberty Salem in this one.
Actually, I believe I'll probably be in West Liberty on Thursday morning. It's our scheduled annual bike ride along the bike path that runs through West Liberty. So I'll have to look at the store.
Check out the Boss shoe store.
Our next game in this region, the 5th seed, 8-2 Indian Lake, hosting the 12 seed, 5-5 Versailles. Now, I'll get to the computer in a little bit. I mentioned Indian Lake is riding a 5-game winning streak. Versailles is riding a 5-game losing streak. So obviously, the computer says Versailles is an 18-point favorite to upset Indian Lake in this game with an 88% chance to win. Now, both teams also played Anna during the season. Versailles lost to Anna 13-7 in week 6, but we'll mention this a few more times. I take every week 6 game with a grain of salt. That was the hurricane game. I know where we were at. It was a very windy, wet, muddy game, and that kind of changed the way the game was played. Indian Lake played Anna in week 1 and lost 37-0. That's probably why the computer favors Versailles some.
Yeah, I got, boy, that my Indian Lake Lakers, after they went through that tornado earlier in the year, they just really gathered that community around there. And I just so much respect for the Laker community over that way. But I got to think Versailles is going to break this streak over to Indian Lake in this game. I've got to think so, but it may be a lot closer than 18 points.
Yeah, Versailles has been struggling with a few injuries, and when I saw him just about 3 weeks ago, that did not look like what I was expecting out of Versailles' team. It was not as strong, not as good as I would expect to normally see from Versailles. So we'll see how this goes. But either way, not the most fortunate playoff draw for Indian Lake. They could have received a much easier team as number 12 coming up to visit.
Yep.
What I think is a really interesting game here, the 7 seed, 7-3 Miami East will be hosting the 10 seed Milton Union. Now, the computer says Miami East is a 1-point favorite with a 53% chance to win. These two teams also played in the regular season. Miami East won that game 32-14, but once again, that was a Hurricane Week 6 game. So take that result with a grain of salt, I guess.
You know, Bruce, and speaking with Bowling Green grad, former tight end Hunter Folkertsma, who is the Miami East coach, he's really, really happy with his team's performance this year. I mean, they've had every team has ups and downs, but Coach Folkertsma, who is a heck of a player at Bowling Green, has these guys playing. Beautiful new playing surface over at Miami East. I don't know if you've been over there. Beautiful surface that the district folks put in over there. The result during the year, 32-14. Hurricane game, but I just think my Milton Union, very good team. I like the Bulldogs. I don't think they match up with the front 7 defensively with Miami East. I'm picking Miami East in this one.
And of course, the winner of this game probably plays at West Liberty Salem next week.
Yep.
Next, we get the 9 seed, 5-5 Lima Bath, traveling to face the 8 seed, 5-5 Carlisle. So we have a matchup of 2 5-5 teams here. The computer says the 9 seed Lima Bath on the road is a 21-point favorite to pull off the upset with a 92% chance to win this game.
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, this is where the fact that Lima Bath is the smallest school in the WBL starts to pay off.
That's 100% right, Bruce. I saw Bath in person. This is a very sophisticated offense. Now, I know Carlisle's been scheming and doing what they do to get themselves ready, but Bath has an outstanding athlete at quarterback. This guy's a playmaker extraordinaire. This guy makes things out of nothing. He can deliver a football. Their scheme is good. I don't know that their defense is super good, but this could be a little more high-scoring game. Close one.
By the way, I did a little sneak look ahead, and some computers actually think that Bath will be favored next week against the number 1 seed.
That's why you're good at what you do, because you're always looking ahead, you're analyzing, you're taking all the data points. All I'm doing is going to the games with my own 2 eyes and saying that Bath kid can flat out make plays. I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to play Jamestown Greenview, and who plays an average schedule, below average schedule. Watch out. Bath might win twice in the playoffs.
And our final game in this region, the 16th seed, 3-7 St. Paris Graham. Won 3 of their final 4. Were actually upset in their final game of the season a little bit to get that 16 seed. So now they travel to play undefeated Jamestown Greenview. Jamestown Greenview through the years has always been one of my favorite schools just because they've always tended to play some Region 2018 that Minster would rather have lose in week 10, and they usually beat them and made me happy. So I'm always a big fan of Jamestown Greenview. Computer says Graham, a 28-point underdog, which is actually better than a lot of 16 teams, according to the computer. 3% chance to win this game, but it still kind of looks like, especially after losing to Ben Logan last week, this is probably the end of the line for Graham High School.
The Falcons of St. Paris Graham are probably going to be grounded, Bruce. I agree with you. Greenview is an interesting school and a great town. I love Jamestown. So, yeah, they're at home. They have enough to beat Graham.
We next move on to Division 6, where we start to be worried about almost every playoff game. We'll start with the 2 seed, 91 Bluffton, facing the 15 seed, 7-3 Paulding. 15 seed is an awfully low seed for a 7-3 team, which tells you a little bit about Paulding's strength of schedule. Computer says Bluffton is a 33-point favorite, and that's even after they just got it handed to them by Columbus Grove last week.
Yep.
I showed 2 common opponents for these 2 teams, Delphus Jefferson and Defiance Ayersville. Bluffton defeated those teams by an average score of 57-7. Paulding beat them by an average score of 31-1. So even though they have common opponents, I don't think it tells us a whole lot there, man.
No, I love the Paulding Panthers. I go way back with them. My Bluffton Pirates, their great guidance counselor, Dr. Liz Smith up there, their principal, Mike Minnie, good friends of mine. Bluffton's got to be stinging, Bruce. You just said they just got stomped by Columbus Grove. They have got to be stung. I think, and I love Paulding, but I'm looking running clock here. I know it may not appear so. I think Bluffton's coming out in this one.
I won't disagree with you there. Well, by the way, just to blow our own horn again, as we like to do, back in the preseason, we said that the Week 4 Paulding-Wayne Trace game would be very big. Paulding won that game 24-14. Paulding made the playoffs. Wayne Trace, they just barely missed out. A win in that game would have put them in the playoffs. So that indeed was a key game for both teams this season.
Everything we predicted in August that turns out to be correct, we are reporting. If we made any statements that didn't turn out to be correct, we are not reporting those. So podcast listeners, please understand we do toot our own horn. And we toot it loudly. If Rebecca was here, it'd be much louder because she's a great musician.
If Rebecca was here, she'd be pointing out all the things we missed.
Probably true.
Our next game, 4 seed, 8-2 Patrick Henry against the 13 seed, 6-4 Metamora Evergreen. Computer likes Patrick Henry by 31 points with a 98% chance to win. This game has already been played. Patrick Henry beat Evergreen 35-6 in week 4. Patrick Henry, another team that plays a lot of larger division schools all regular season long, and they actually might feel like they're getting a break from playoff time.
Yeah, that's going to be the same score again. They win again, same score.
The number 5 seed is 7-3 Defiance Tenora. They are hosting the 12 seed 5-5 Terry. The computer actually says Tenora is a 4-point underdog in this game with only a 40% chance to win. So this appears to be a really bad matchup for Tenora as a number 5 seed. Personal opinion, I think the computer, it's kind of full of it here. I like Tenora all the way in this game. The Rams have a 7-game winning streak. You could argue could have been an 8-game winning streak if they'd have got that controversial win over Archibald in week 3. They would have been the number 3 seed then instead of the number 5. Preseason here, Van noted that Tenora lost in the first round last year and payback was on their minds for this year. Here's their chance, but they get a tough opponent.
Terry is a blue-collar team, without question. The Tenora Rams I'm allowed to say this as the color commentator on the podcast. They were robbed in the Arch Bowl game, so they won the game. So these guys are the third seed, but actually the fifth seed. So I'm picking the Rams. I loved them in August, and I love them in November. We are picking the Rams to win this game. Stone cold lock, mark it.
All right. The next team is the 6th seed, 8-2 Sherwood Fairview. And if Rebecca was here, she would be quick to note that I had them as number 25 in my preseason projections. Mm-hmm. So a great season for Sherwood Fairview. They are hosting the 11th seed, 5-4 Elmore Woodmore. Computer says Fairview is a 27-point favorite with a 96% chance to win this game. Now, redeem myself from the preseason show. Mm-hmm. We did mention we liked Fairview's chances if they could upset Wauseon in week 1. And they did by a score of 30-12. Yep. So we were back on the Fairview bandwagon really quick this season, right after week 1.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled that Fairview had such a great season and put things together. I'm proud of them. Woodmore has been many years outside, as you know, Bruce, outside the playoff system. So they're glad to be there. They've had a good year. I don't think being glad to be there is going to last long. I think Fairview wins this game fairly easily.
We will wrap up this region with the 10 seed, 5-5 Spencerville. On the road at the 7 seed, 6-4 Huron. The computer really doesn't like Spencerville, says they are a 28-point underdog with only a 3% chance to win this game. There's absolutely no overlap between these two teams' schedules. No way to really compare them all that well. Spencer was another one of those teams we did not pick in the preseason to make the playoffs, but they had some nice close wins in week 2 and 3 against Wayne Trace and DeGraff Riverside, which gave them the points they needed to be the 10 seed. Looks like a tough one for them though here.
It's going to be tough, but as you know, Bruce, Coach Kyle Koenig, Marion local roots. Kyle Koenig is from the Marion local coaching tree, the head coach at Spencerville. So he is a physical guy, a physical football kind of guy. Now, I don't think it'll be enough, but if you wonder how they got in the playoffs when we thought they wouldn't, you can start with Coach Kyle Koenig, one of the great young coaches in the area.
And if you want to see why they have 5 losses, just remember they played Columbus Grove, Bluffton, Lima Central Catholic. I don't remember. I imagine Fort Laramie probably beat them also. Just a guess there, but not the easiest schedule in the world. Mm-mm. Moving over to Region 23, we have Mechanicsburg, the 14 seed with a 7-3 record. On the road, facing the 3 seed, 9-1, West Lafayette Ridgewood. Computer says Mechanicsburg is a 26-point underdog with a 4% chance to win the game. I really don't doubt that. Ridgewood's only loss this year was to undefeated Indian Valley, and they had a big upset over 8-2 Sugar Creek Garaway last week.
Yeah, this game could approach running clock. I know. I don't want to say that with Mechanicsburg, who I dearly love those guys over there in the hills, but this could get away.
Moving down in Division 6 to Region 24, we have the top seed, 9-1 Coldwater, hosting the 16 seed, 3-7 Covington. The computer likes Coldwater by 49 points. And I would say that's likely unless the running clock keeps it from getting that high.
Covington's a team that doesn't have a whole lot of players, Bruce. You always check the rosters at this point on these smaller schools. They're down on players too.
Yep. Coldwater's been pretty much projected to be the number 1 seed in this season in this region ever since they beat Valley View back in week 1. And to be honest, they're probably already looking ahead to playing, I'm going to say, Springfield Northeastern in the second round of the playoffs. Our other 2 teams we follow here in this region, number 3 seed, 7-3 Anna, is hosting the 14 seed, 5-5 Lima Perry. Computer says Anna is a 49-point favorite over Lima Perry. I don't believe this one as much as the Coldwater game, but Anna is definitely the heavy favorite in this game. And like Coldwater, they're just waiting to see whether it's going to be Bainbridge Paint Valley or Cincinnati Purcell Maria rolling into town for the second round of the playoffs next week. Really, really unlucky draws for Covington and Lima Perry to start the playoffs.
Yeah, I give credit to both the Buccaneers at Covington and the Commodores at Perry for getting in the playoffs and working hard. But Perry, that ship is not even going to get out of the dock, Bruce. That Anna is they're firing right at that ship. They're not even getting off the dock.
Okay, we're moving on to Division 7 now. Start with Region 26. We'll have the number 1 seed, the favorite to win this region, undefeated Columbus Grove, hosting the 16 seed 4-6 North Baltimore. Big sigh of relief on my end. I've been calling North Baltimore the 16 seed for about 2 weeks now. Glad to see I was not wrong. Hate it when that happens. Feel bad.
Yep.
Peter likes Columbus Grove by 49, as do I. I can't think of anything else to say about this one, Van. Columbus Grove is just going to roll.
Yeah, this is a terrible matchup, and it's one of these things when you said get the 12 teams in, and then you have so that you don't have these matchups like this. This is a perfect example. North Baltimore, really small school, and glad they're in there, but boy.
That brings us next to our, as every rule has an exception, we have the exception coming up here. Mm-hmm. The number 2 seed, 9-1 Upper Soto Valley, is hosting the 15 seed, 3-7 Delphos St. John's. And the computer says, forget the records. It likes Delphos St. John's by 13 points to upset Upper Soto Valley. Gives them an 80% chance to win the game. Now, I found another computer, and it tells me Upper Soto Valley is a 17-point favorite in this game. So choose your computer by which team you like, I guess.
Well, the grain dryers are going to be running over there, drying the corn and the beans coming off the fields there over in Hardin County for the USV Rams. I think Delphos St. John's will win. I believe this game could be close, though. That's my opinion.
I know Delphos St. John's has suffered a lot of injuries this year. I have not heard whether any of them are coming back yet. Yeah, that's probably a key in this game.
Yep.
But old Todd Schulte, if he's got the horses, he knows how to coach them over there at Delphos.
Correct.
Our next game, the 6 seed, 8-2 Ada, hosting the 11 seed, 6-4 Leipzig. This looks like one of those good ones. The computer likes Ada, but only by 4 points with a 60% chance to win. These two teams had one common opponent. They both played Arlington. Ada lost 44-43 in week 3. Leipzig beat Arlington 20-14 in week 9. So 2 close games. Oh, we have another preseason episode note here. It says Van proclaimed Leipzig to be his underdog team of the year. I don't know if that was in the state of everyone we cover or just in this region.
It was in this region. The Vikings had some inside information. You know, when I come on the podcast, I don't just sit at my desk in my basement in Wapagon and just start pontificating. I'm on the road.
You're insulting me here, Van. That's
not what you do. You do more research in 1 hour than I do in a year. But I did pick Leipzig as my team of the year in this area and they're going to win this game. I'm telling you now. You see those comparison scores, which is again your specialty. I mean, the research you do is impeccable. You see all the points Ada gave up to Arlington. They gave up a lot of points. Leipzig's defense will stop Ada. Here's the score: Leipzig 21, Ada 14. Mark it.
Okay, only one touchdown, so a close game yet.
Close game.
Next, we have the 8 seed, 7-3 Lima Central Catholic hosting the 9 seed, 7-3 Pandora Gilboa. The computer says LCC, a 10-point favorite with a 74% chance to win the game. They have some common opponents. I'm not sure it tells us too much. Both teams played both Columbus Grove and Bluffton. How about Pandora having Columbus Grove and Bluffton on their non-conference schedule? Oof.
Incredible.
Pandora lost those games by an average score of 39-4. LCC lost by an average score of 32-10. So personally, I think I've mentioned a few times, I've been on the LCC bandwagon all year. Mentioned I thought they were a tougher team than the computer points gave them credit for. If the T-Birds survive this game, I think they will give Columbus Grove their toughest test in this region. And if you remember that game, Columbus Grove beat LCC 28-20 2 weeks ago. Remember, Columbus Grove just beat Bluffton by about what, 5 touchdowns?
Yeah, 40 points. Yep.
Ooh.
Mm. Yeah, I give the edge to the T-Birds. I'm on your bandwagon. I listen to you, Bruce, because you've been on with them all year. Close game, edge to the T-Birds.
Our next game is the 10 seed, 6-4 Hardin Northern going on the road to play the 7 seed Tiffin Calvert, who is also 6-4. Despite the similar records, the computers say Hardin Northern is a 28-point underdog with a 3% chance to win. Again, that is a strength of schedule thing, I believe. Tiffin Calvert's schedule looks tougher than Hardin Northern's. Tiffin Calvert actually had 5 shutouts this year, and that may be a problem for the Hardin Northern offense.
It's the front seven. It's their front seven at Calvert. They got some guys from various school districts that come in there to play, and their front seven's really good. I love the Polar Bears. Normally, Hardin Northern, again, blue collar, but Calvert, close game, but they're going to win.
Let's see. We have 2 more games yet in this region. The 12 seed Macomb goes on the road to play the 5 seed 9-1 Eden. By the way, Macomb is 7-3. The computer likes Macomb as a 10-point favorite to upset Eden with a 74% chance to win. This is kind of like the NCAA basketball tournament. Always take that 12 seed to upset the 5 seed. Rebecca's notes here tell me that Van's favorite team, Macomb. Again, it didn't say favorite team of what, because I know Wapakoneta is probably your favorite team, right?
Sure.
Favorite
Bruce,
team maybe in this region, huh?
it is. I love the Panthers. When you walk in their school, it's all about getting things done. We are pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps. Nobody's doing anything for us. We are pushing ourselves forward. Everything earned, nothing given. That's the attitude at Macomb, and that is why the computer says Macomb 10-point favorite to upset Eden. Your computer that you are inputting is 100% correct. Macomb will defeat Eden.
By the way, this game is at Eden.
Yes.
But the stadium, the Garden of Eden, one of my favorite football stadiums in Northwest Ohio.
Yep.
Partly because I went there once, told them I was representing the JJ Huddle website. They gave me a sideline pass and fed me free Subway after the game. So I always like Eden.
Love it. Love them.
Final game, the 14 seed, 5-5 Arlington, playing the 3 seed, 8-2 Gibsonburg. And the computers don't like Arlington's chances, say they are a 26-point underdog with only a 4% chance to win. And I don't have much to add other than it's always tough for a 14 seed in the play.
Yeah, I agree.
Before we get to our last region or two here, it's time for our scores of the week.
Scores of the week.
I found 3 scores that I found interesting for 3 very different reasons. The first one was a Wednesday night game. Dayton Meadowdale 22, Dayton Belmont 2. And I found this interesting as that was the only game being played on Wednesday night. I was watching the updates come in. Early in the third quarter, the score was 2-2. Yes, both teams had a safety and no other score. You don't see 2-2 very often, do you?
Oh.
Our next score, Marion Local 35, Coldwater 0. Now, Marion Local wins the MAC with this. They set the state record. They now have a 58-game winning streak going. But the real winner in this game was there was a gentleman who I'm told was from out of town, came in to watch the game, who took home the over $22,000 worth of winnings in the 50-50 drawing.
$22,000, 50-50 at a high school game. That's all you got to know. Football is bigger, better in our area right here where you and I live.
To show you how big this is, I saw an update on Thursday night to tell me that already $11,000 worth of tickets had been sold pregame by Thursday night. That means they sold another $33,000 worth at the game, by the way.
The game.
By the way, I did find out you did not have to be present to win. If you bought a pre-sale ticket, you could write your name and phone number on the back.
Oh.
But the winner was at the game, by the way. No word yet on whether they gave him a check or whether they gave him a big bag with a dollar sign on it to carry out of the stadium.
Great.
Our final game of the week, score of the week, I should say. Cleveland Collinwood 8, Cleveland East Tech 6. Now, you can tell me whether this is an example of either the magic or the madness of the computer point system. This game was played at 3:30 on Friday, so school got out. They went to the locker room, put on the uniforms, hit the field. Let's play this thing. Huh? When 1-6 Collinwood pulled off the upset as 21-point underdogs, people around here all knew it because when that happened, Minster suddenly became the favorite to get the 2 seed in Region 28 over Cincinnati College Prep. Now, if you can look at a map and figure out why a team from Minster and a team from Cincinnati cared about what happened to 2 teams from Cleveland, then you're probably a better man than I am.
Wow.
However, that was the case.
Wow. I'm glad you're in charge of computer points, Bruce. That's hard to explain, but what fun.
It was nice that they played that early because there was no way I was going to be able to track that score in the middle of all the other scores around the state as of 7 o'clock. Okay, we're going to move down now to our final game, to our final region for 11-man football. That's Division 7, Region 28. We'll start with the top seed, Marion Local, 10-0, facing the number 19 seed, Fort Recovery Indians. And the computers say Marion Local's a 49-point favorite in this game. Marion Local won this matchup in Week 7 by a score of 62-0. That and the fact that 3 teams declined to play this game tells us pretty much all we need to know, I believe.
Yeah, this is I give credit to Fort Recovery. Again, mark this as a reason why West Central Ohio, love and respect everybody that didn't want to play them, it's okay. But why West Central Ohio, everything will be earned. I mean, Fort Recovery says, no, we're going to play the game. If we're next up, we're playing. We're honored to play. Let's go. Line up the bus, get out of here. Let's get warmed up and let's get going and try to get something done. And believe me, they're scheming right now. Don't think they're just going to lay down. They're going to play. No, it's going to be a running clock. Marion Local is much better, much better prepared. But Fort Recovery will play, and I give credit everyone who shows up in the purple and white. Thank you, and I want to credit those players and those coaches.
Now, the real value in this game for Fort Recovery, however, is not in playing the game. It's going to be in that extra week of practice.
Yep.
I know they're preparing for Marion Local, but I assume they're also making sure the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors are getting preparation work in for next season.
Correct. It's a huge benefit. It's like when Bowling Green gets a bowl game. We love bowl games. We're going to play a bowl game, but you get 4 weeks of practice.
Absolutely. You don't want that December 15th bowl game. You want the the December 28th one, right?
Yeah, I want the December 29th game. Yep, you're right.
Our next game in this region, the 2 seed, 8-2 Minster versus the 15 seed, 3-6 Manchester. The computer has Minster as a 49-point favorite in this game. I think I can sum up this game. I received the Manchester roster. They have 20 players on their roster. And that, I think, about sums what's going to happen in this game.
Bruce, not only do they have 20 guys, they only played 14 guys in their last game. They played 14 guys. Now, running clock immediately.
Now, I have actually seen a little film on Manchester. They actually even though they only played 14 guys, they actually like to play something of a hurry-up offense. Right. They're not out there resting before each snap. They're keeping the game moving. They like to put the ball up.
Yep.
The 4 seed in this region is 9-1 Ansonia. They are facing the 13 seed 5-5 Twin Valley South. Ansonia won this game back in Week 6 to Hurricane Week 32-0. We mentioned earlier they have a one-dimensional rushing offense, but the thing is they are very good at running the ball. There was a game, I think it was Week 9 perhaps, they went back to pass one play and were sacked. So officially they had no passing attempts for the entire game.
That's correct, Bruce. You know, their AD is Clay George, a great Bowling Green grad, as you know. the Tigers AD, Clay George, one of the great young ADs in the state. He tells me that, yeah, you know what's coming. You go ahead and stop us. That's their, you know it's coming. And it's coming on every snap. They have a few this or that misdirections, but we're running the ball on every snap. You got to stop me. And I'll tell you what's going to happen. Twin Valley South's not going to stop them. It's going to be a victory for Ansonia.
I don't disagree with that one bit. Next game's a little bit better. The 5th seed, 8-2 Sidney Lehman Catholic, facing the 12 seed, 4-6 DeGraff Riverside. Actually, a little bit of a down year for Riverside compared to what they've done the last several seasons. The computer says Lehman is a 15-point favorite with an 84% chance to win. They just played this game in week 7 with Lehman coming out on top, 34-18. So,
yeah,
hopefully Riverside has something figured out. Sometimes in a game like this, the team that won comes out with the exact same plan, and the team that lost has something different in mind, and things can get a little tighter.
It can be hard to beat somebody twice in football in this situation. It can be hard. You know, my late father is a graduate of DeGraff High School, as it was known then. So I have a lot of pluses down in pirate country with DeGraff Riverside. Lehman Catholic, the Cavs have had a pretty good year, so you have to give them a lot of credit for this. Should be close, but I got Lehman in this one.
Right. The 6th seed, 8-2 Mount Victory Ridgemont, hosts the 11 seed, 5-5 Fort Laramie. And the computer says, forget the records, Fort Laramie by 29 points and a 97% chance to win this game. They did have one common opponent. They both played Spencerville. Fort Laramie won that game 42-21 in week 6. That's a lot of points in that weather on week 6. Both teams, actually. Ridgemont lost to Spencerville 29-19 back in week 1. By the way, just looking ahead, Fort Laramie is probably going to be favored in the next round if they win this one. So that would be what? Cincinnati College Prep, wouldn't it?
College Prep. Yeah, Ridgemont, you know, I like going over to Mount Victory, Ridgeway. That's where they're at over there. I like the Gophers. I called on that school for Bowling Green admissions for years. We have tremendous connections there, and I love them. They haven't been in the playoffs football-wise in years. They are celebrating. They are thrilled. They're excited, and they're going to lose. Laramie is, I mean, I love them, but they're going to lose. Laramie just plays a much better schedule, and they just have, at this point, I'm just going to say it with love and respect, they have more and better athletes. They're going to win the game. Credit to Ridgemont and the Gophers for winning 8 games. Heck of a year.
And if they do happen to pull this off, really a heck of a year and a winnable next round game, too. Actually.
So. Yeah, I mean, you're right. If they were to somehow, I just don't see it, though. I love both these schools. I mean, these are schools close and near and dear to my heart. But I got to pick Laramie there.
Our next game is the 7 seed, 6-4 St. Henry, hosting the 10 seed, 5-5 New Bremen. The computer says St. Henry is a 17-point favorite over New Bremen with an 87% chance to win this game. However, St. Henry beat New Bremen just by 1 touchdown, 21-14 at Cardinal Stadium 2 weeks ago. So the computer thinks it's going to be a little different playing it at the home of the Redskins. This is kind of the nightmare playoff scenario for these two MAC teams. An MAC team hits the playoffs. All they want to see is a non-MAC team on the other side of the bracket. Here they have to each play each other, and whoever wins gets to play Minster next week. They get to run 2 games straight through MAC teams. So not the draw either of these teams was hoping for.
No, it's just very difficult. To me, you know these teams much better than me. I love them. I'm flipping a coin. I don't know. Tight one.
I love St. Henry's defense. I'm not sold on St. Henry's offense.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw St. Henry in the rain and the wind and the mud. So I don't think I've got the full honest opinion on what St. Henry could be on regular weather conditions. Finally, we have the 8 seed, Waynesfield Goshen, facing the 9 seed, 8-2 Tri-Village. Waynesfield Goshen, 7-3, by the way. The computer likes the 9 seed, Tri-Village, as a 13-point favorite 80% chance to win the game. Both teams played and defeated Miss Cinnamon Valley. Tri-Village won 41-6 in week 4. Waynesfield won 36-12 in week 1. So that may not tell us a whole lot either there.
Yeah,
8-9 games, usually pretty good, I would think.
I think this will be a close game. The Patriots, it's a long drive. I mean, that's a long drive from New Madison to Waynesfield. And I hope my Tigers are ready to go. Now, they've had some injuries, they've had some situations, but let's hope the Tigers are ready to go. Should be a tight one.
Exactly a direct route between those two either.
None. No, it's forever. It's going to take them forever.
Now,
Google
finally, we
map
move
that.
on to Now, finally, we move on to our 8-man football. And I think we've emphasized this before, but just to repeat again, their regular season is not over. They have one more week of regular season still to go in the 8-man football. However, I believe we have our 4 playoff teams decided already. And those would be, going by their conference records, 6-0 Toledo Christian, 5-1 Sandusky St. Mary, 4-2 Holgate, and 4-2 Southington Chalkler. There's one last game here in the regular season. Toledo Christian's going to finish in the top 2. They will be hosting a playoff game. This week's games will determine who the other team that will be hosting in the playoffs will be. And to be honest, I'm kind of just happy to see Southington Chalker there. It's nice that we have a team coming in from farther away and they get to make the playoffs. There's hope that Chalker, there's some other schools in their area that probably ought to be playing or could be playing 8-man football. We'll see if this inspires anyone out that way or not. But anyway, after this week's games, we'll be able to tell you exactly who's in their playoff and who's playing who.
I want to give congratulations to Sandusky St. Mary. They've had a heck of a year in 8-man football. I mean, they really have. That's a great achievement.
Yeah, if I remember right, a tough loss last week. Toledo Christian beat them pretty handily, I believe, but that's been pretty much across the board this year, Toledo Christian.
Yeah, Toledo Christian's just the cream of the crop here in 8-man, but credit to St. Mary in Sandusky.
All right, that wraps up our preview of the first round of playoffs. By the way, if you have a comment question for us, as someone did this week, it can be sent to my email, bdmonnin@nktelco.net, or submit it on X to @BruceMonnin. That's how Van gets a hold of me.
Yes.
In the middle of a game as I'm doing stats Friday night, by the way,
Right.
if you wonder why my answers were so short.
It's okay. Yeah, you're a busy man. That's how you operate. You're the best of the best. There's no better podcast. Anybody interested in Ohio high school football in our area should be listening to this podcast. You're the best. Rebecca Monnin, your producer, is incredible. Best wishes to her. Where is she at? Malaysia or China or somewhere, wherever she is.
I believe she's actually in the Cincinnati area. She is just tied to a phone today.
Okay. All right. Okay. I know she's an international worker and traveler and salesperson.
Yes. By the way, if you have thoughts for us, you can also place them in the comments section on our YouTube page. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast, as Van says there, wherever your fine podcasts are downloaded, such as Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or our YouTube channel. Just search for Bruce Monnin's Computer Points. You get about halfway through Monnin and nothing else comes up. And we will return next week to preview the second round playoff games and those first round 8-man football games. Rebecca should be back. And we are working on who our special guest, if anyone may be. Maybe we'll just let Rebecca be the special guest. I don't know.
She's special.
And with that, we're out of here. So long, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.